Hey crew, we have the Behemoth Beast up next, and I think this build will surprise most of you because it is just as strong as the Hunter and Warlock in the ability to lock down champions and high health targets by freezing them. And a lot of people don't play Stasis Titan this way, but we can literally pop a huge Stasis barricade, then proceed to have 3 dust field grenades out on the field at the same time. This is without needing to hit an enemy or kill an enemy, so it is fully self-sustained. And we can loop this infinitely thanks to the build we're running and how we have it set up. It has S tier crowd control for mobs of enemies because we literally have 3-second grenades. We also have a 50% damage buff just like the Hunter to any weapons that use kinetic damage. What then separates the Behemoth is the amazing damage reduction and healing it provides to us, and all of this can be done in a very aggressive playstyle or a safe playstyle, and that's what I really like about this build. Font of Might is taking that nerf when Lightfall drops, and normally you would play into the font with the Stasis glacial grenades and the Stasis barricade from our exotic, but instead of that path, we're choosing to be able to freeze the entire battlefield just like the Stasis Warlock and the Stasis Hunter. And the main reason for this is in the endgame content like Grandmasters, freezing is just better option than shattering with, let's say, like the glacial grenades. On top of it being able to have 3 dust field grenades out at all times, we get a huge 40% damage reduction just by being by a Stasis crystal, which we always are. Then when we break the crystals, we get healing from the Stasis shards if our health is low, and if our health is full, we get an overshield instead. And then these Stasis shards also give us melee energy and your teammates melee energy, and they can proc all of our mods for us. This Stasis Titan build is by far one of the best self-sustained builds in Destiny 2, and that's why it is one of my favorites on the Stasis Titan. Even over things like a Shatter build, a Font of Might build, or even the Stronghold Lament build, because Lament just can't be used on all bosses in the game, and it requires such an aggro playstyle that it just doesn't mesh with a lot of different people. If you're new to the channel and found this video helpful or enjoyable, then make sure to hit that subscribe button for awesome builds leading into the new Strand subclass and Lightfall builds. Now for the Titan subclass, we have our Behemoth Super. It's Glacial Quake. It's actually a bit better than people think. Just right click all the time and create as many Stasis crystals as you can, because when bosses walk over those Stasis crystals, it shatters them and we get a ton of damage from the shattering of the crystals. We also can get healing and overshields from all those crystals as well. You want to be using Rally Barricade because it has a quicker cooldown, and this is going to play into our exotic that we're using. And then of course dust field grenades, where we can create that ball of slowing and freezing targets. For the 2 aspects, we're going to take Tectonic Harvest. Shattering a Stasis crystal creates a Stasis shard. These shards grant melee energy when picked up by you or your allies, and we get 2 fragment slots from this. And then we're going to go with Diamond Lance. Shatter or defeat targets with stasis abilities to create a Stasis Lance. Now the big thing we're taking Diamond Lance for is just the 3 fragment slots, but you can also pick up those lances, use them, freeze certain things. I use them all the time and they're quite fun to play with. Now for our 5 fragments, we're going to take Whisper of Durance. So slow from your abilities last longer. For those abilities that linger, their duration will also increase. We get a plus 10 strength with this, and that's going to make our dust fields last longer on the field, which is just great. Next we have Whisper of Shards. Shattering a Stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional Stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. We get a plus 10 resilience with this fragment. And when we shatter those crystals that we create with our barricade, it's just going to proc Whisper of Shards for us and add to that ability regen. This is one way how we're getting our grenade back so fast. Our next fragment is Whisper of Chains. While you are near frozen targets or a friendly Stasis crystal, you take reduced damage from targets. Again, when we pop that barricade, we proc Whisper of Chains. That's a 40% damage reduction for us. We also get a plus 10 recovery from this. Next we have Whisper of Rhyme. Collecting a Stasis shard grants a small amount of overshield, which falls off after 10 seconds. Collecting additional shards adds to the overshield and refreshes the timer. If you're low on health, these shards will actually heal you because of Whisper of Rhyme, and if you're at full health, you just get the overshield. And these shards again come from our barricade and Stasis crystals. And then lastly, we have Whisper of Rending. Primary ammo weapons do increased damage to Stasis crystals and frozen targets. This is going to let our kinetic weapons one-shot our crystals for us, so we can easily pick up the shards from them. And then when you're using kinetic damage on frozen targets, you're going to hit 50% harder. That's any kinetic weapon damage. This doesn't just have to be Wish Ender. There are a lot of different weapons that can take advantage of this. Things like Fighting Lion is a primary weapon. Malfeasance, Osteostriga isn't really another good one. Teraba can even take advantage of this. You have a lot of different options there when it comes to what your kinetic weapon should be. For the stats on the build, you definitely want to aim for 100 resilience because again, that's that 40% damage reduction, and then 100 discipline. When Lightfall drops, that resilience is actually only going to be 30% damage reduction, so stuff like Whisper of Chains within the Stasis subclass that gives you the 40% damage reduction for free basically by standing near a crystal is going to be that much more valuable in being able to survive 5 and difficult content. For the weapons on the build, use whatever weapons you like. You have a bunch of different options there, so use whatever you want. Just a hard-hitting kinetic weapon that uses kinetic damage is going to be the best option with Whisper of Rending. Now our exotic of choice is Hoarfrost Z. The exotic armor perk on it is Glacial Fortification. When using the Stasis subclass, your barricade becomes a wall of stasis crystals that slows nearby targets when created. Standing behind this barricade will grant you and your allies increased weapon, reload speed, stability, and range just like a normal barricade does. So when you pop your barricade, instead of the little rally barricade come out, you get this huge wall of ice. These are our stasis crystals that's going to supply everything we need for this build, and it'll slow nearby enemies, and if an enemy happens to be in the path of the stasis crystal, it will freeze them as well. Now for the mods on the build, on the helmet, we're going with a firepower mod. While charged light, regain a portion of your grenade. We're going to play into those dust-filled grenades strongly, and then I had double grenade launcher ammo finder on. On my gauntlets, I had elemental charge, so when we pick up those stasis crystals from the barricade, right, those are actually going to make us charge light with a different mod, and that's how we become charge light, is with elemental charge. I also had unstoppable grenade launcher on there, but of course in Lightfall what comes, we won't have to slot that, and we can play around with this slot much more. On our chest piece, a second firepower mod to add to that grenade recharge. On our boots is the third firepower mod, so now we have triple firepower, so we're getting about 50% of our grenade back instantly when we throw a grenade, and we're always charged with light because we can just get that from the barricade itself, and we always have our barricade available. I also had a grenade launcher scavenger just to play into my grenade launcher a bit more. And then on our class items, some really important mods, we have elemental shards. Stasis shards count as stasis elemental wells for you. So those shards from those crystals count as wells. Elemental charge allows us to become charged with light, and firepower allows us to spend those. We also have double utility kickstart here, so we can get about 25% of our barricade back instantly when we cast our barricade, and that just plays even more into getting the barricade back quicker. Now, as you can see in the opening gameplay clip, you could literally just stand there, pop your barricade, throw like 6 dust fields in a row, and then pop your next barricade, and just keep rotating through the cycle. As long as you pop your barricade, shoot one of the crystals, and make sure you grab that stasis crystal within it, because that just fuels the entire build. When Lightfall comes, I believe stasis again will be even better, because it's going to have the intrinsic ability to stun champions with the freeze and the shatter damage. So there's some exciting things we're going to be able to do with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. It's a little bit different way of playing a Stasis Titan, but it's still one of my favorite ways to play Stasis Titan. I made a build like this, I think it was literally about a year ago, and I was using Heart of Inmost Light. But now we can use Hurlfrost because it came out with Witch Queen, and it just fuels the build even better. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you guys think of the build down in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.